so I was only here for 3 days. And to make things a bit spicier as well, on Friday I had a show in Leeds, which is a city fairly far from London. I'm a singing drag queen, and what I did was that I went to Leeds for a show at 9:30 p.m. on Friday the 14th. Then I did my 1-hour show. I finished at 10:30 p.m. and then I took a megabus at 11:30 p.m. that got me back to London at 4:30 in the morning. Then I ran home. I spent a couple of hours, an hour and a half here at home packing, and then I had to take a train from my house to the airport because my flight was at 9:30 a.m. So it was an intense journey, and because I was on a megabus, so you never know what kind of traffic you might find. Obviously it was night, so I wasn't expecting too much traffic, but there was always a remote chance that I might be so late that I might miss my flight. But luckily that did not happen. The christening was on Sunday the 16th, and then I spent Monday back home, and I came back yesterday afternoon. Now I am 32, and I keep telling people that now I am an uncle because I have a younger brother who could potentially have a baby. But no, I'm not an uncle, I am a cousin again, because my mum is the first of 5 siblings, and her youngest sister is 18 years younger than her and only 10 years older than me. I am 32, and my aunt is, well, now 43 because she was born in May and I was born in December. And so we're only 10 years apart, and she looks extremely, extremely young, to the point where when I was around 18, 20, we looked like we were a couple, and a lot of people asked us if we were, because that's how young she is. She looks and is. And she's been with a partner for over 14 years, because I've been in London for 14 years and they were already together when I moved here, and they've just had a baby in March. So I am a cousin again, and I am the oldest of all the cousins in my mum's family, and it's very strange that my cousin is 32 years younger than me. I got back home on Saturday, and then I met my aunt, and well, technically it's not my uncle-in-law yet because they're not married, and I don't think they are planning to get married, but I mean, he it's a life mission, and I'm sure it's extremely rewarding if you have that gene in your DNA, but that gene skipped, well, not my generation, but my DNA. Everyone who knows me knows that they shouldn't expect any kind of reaction from me when they talk to me about babies, about their children, because I feel nothing. So my aunt knew not to expect anything, but I have to say I was proud of myself, because I have to say the baby is very cute, and while he's only 3 months old, I don't know the timeline of when they start being noisy or anything like that, but he did not make a sound throughout the whole weekend, so as far as I can tell, he is very well behaved, which is great, and he is very, very cute. I have to give that to him. But yes, I couldn't really express any kind of infectious joy or happiness, because I just don't feel it when it comes to babies or children of any age. But I went, and so I landed around lunchtime, and we went to McDonald's, and my aunt had her hairdo already ready for the day after. Well, she had all sorts of pins and all sorts of scaffolding going on, because that would then hold the hair in place overnight, and then the day after she could let loose, and all the curls and ringlets would come out as a result of all this scientific feat. And then something nice happened. So I have a very strong relationship with my aunt, because we're so close age-wise, and as a child I spent quite a bit of time with my grandparents, and obviously she still lived at home when I was, up until I was 15, I think, so we spent a lot of time together, and we have a very strong connection. She's the one that turned me on to music by playing Anastasia to me, and I've made a video about this. So yes, we are close. Also, because she's so much younger than everyone else in her family, she spent a lot of time almost as an only child, because then everyone else, by the time she was old enough to understand what was happening in life, I think all of her siblings, so my mum and her other sisters and brother, had already moved out, so I was almost like a brother, a little brother to her. And what happened was that for a christening, for a Catholic christening, you need a godfather and a godmother, and I don't think you need both, but you need at least one. I think it's required to have one, and my mum was the godmother, because they are very close, despite the fact that they are the furthest apart in terms of age. They are the closest in terms of relationship, because my mum was almost like a mother to her, and so she was my cousin's godmother. And then there and then at McDonald's, just to keep it very romantic, my aunt asked me if I wanted to be the godfather. I was a bit taken aback, because I don't really know what a godfather needs to do, and although I am a performer and a YouTuber, so I like to put myself out there when I perform, I don't really like too much attention in, for example, a church, and I didn't really know, I know it's just a format religious upbringing of the child. Maybe it was like that in the past. Nowadays, it's just a formality. I knew that I had no lifelong commitment or task to fulfill, but it's just a nice gesture. I think, nowadays, it's the fact that a parent, in this case my aunt, asks you whether you want to be the godfather or godmother of her child, means that she cares about you. So she cares about you so much that she wants you to be to have an important part in her child's life. So it's more symbolic. So I said yes, and luckily I didn't have to do too much during the ceremony. So yes, I'm officially a godfather now. One of the many things that I've done in my life now, and the ceremony was really nice. It was just a normal mass with the extra part of the christening or baptism. The baby was very quiet, and I think during a Catholic ritual, the priest pours a little bit of water over the forehead of the child to purge them of the sins, and usually a lot of babies cry because, out of the blue they feel cold water on their foreheads. But no, I think he was sleeping. He was sleeping right before the water hit his forehead, and I think he kept sleeping even during that, so it was perfect. Obviously, because we have a big family, all my mum's siblings with their partners, their children. Now, the sad thing was that we live in the north, in Bologna, but my aunt's partner, so my uncle-in-law, is from the south, from the very deep south of Italy, and going from the north to the south is a long trip. And unfortunately, none of the relatives of my uncle could make it to the wedding because to the christening, because the christening was in Bologna in the north. His parents are old, and his mum is not 100% in shipshape. And I think it's a 9-hour car journey, and not that much less by train. You could also take a plane, but for older people, I understand it's tricky, especially because it's fairly hot at the moment in Italy. Other relatives of my uncle decided not to come, so it was a little bit sad for him to see that my aunt had a platoon of people for her, and my uncle only had one friend from back home, but only because he lives in the north as well. It is what it is. But yes, I'm sure he felt slightly, if not disappointed, just slightly sad that he couldn't share that moment with his family. Also, my aunt is old to be a mother. I know now women can become mothers, even in their 50s, but 43 is still considered fairly old, and my uncle is even older. I think is 47-ish. So for them it was a big deal because they're not going to have another one, and they waited a long time to have this one baby, so it was a big deal for them, even more so than for someone who has their first child in their 20s maybe. And so the ceremony was really nice, and then we went to have lunch and have reception in it does. The place that we went to doesn't really exist here in England as a concept. It's a private restaurant, let's say. Private as in it's not part of a chain, and it's in the middle of a farm usually. And in order for this kind of establishment to be considered that kind of establishment, I think they need to produce some of the food that they offer themselves, or at least some ingredients. I mean, I don't think you can just open a full-blown restaurant in the middle of nowhere and call it. It's called agriturismo. So I think there are a few criteria that you need to meet, and most of these places also have a few rooms, like hotel rooms upstairs. I don't know if this one has any, but that's where we went. And some places and people opt for a buffet, but my aunt opted for a sit-down meal where we had a lot of food to be shared. Also, my grandparents are very old-fashioned, so I don't think they would have liked a buffet, because we are all farmers, and the idea of going to a restaurant for us means that we sit down and we are served, which is terrible. I hate being served, but my grandfather wouldn't want to go to a buffet because he would have to stand up and go physically walk to the buffet himself, and that wouldn't feel like what going to a restaurant should feel like, because for us, we don't come from money, so going to a restaurant is a big deal. But yes, that's some people in my family who are like that, primarily my grandparents. The food was amazing, I have to say. Only last year did I start going to weddings, because before that, no one in my circle of friends had ever wanted to get married, and I've always considered myself extremely lucky because I live in London and my childhood friends all live in Italy, and I know people in London who travel 4 or 5 times back home because all their friends from back home get married, and that has never happened to me. Well, it hadn't happened to me, and I was really, really happy because I did not want to waste that money to go to these weddings. And also, I'm a performer, and I primarily perform at weekends, so every weekend I'm away is a lot of money that I lose. But 2 years ago, actually, while Lady Gaga was here right on my doorstep, I went to the wedding of a classmate of mine from secondary school. It was an amazing wedding, but I miss Lady Gaga. But we'll not get into that, not here, not now. And that was the first of a couple of weddings that I ended up going to. Even last year I had to fly back home to go to this one wedding. And I mean, of course, weddings are not about the food. You go for, because you want to be there, because you want to support your friends. I know that. But obviously, we all have taste buds, and we all commented on the food afterwards, and all of these lavish and glorious weddings that I went to between 2 years ago and last year. Oh gosh, I'm sure they spent a fortune on the food, but it was very disappointing. Also, I eat a lot, but that's my problem, and the portions were very small. But also the quality of the food was really, really poor, and not even the quality, the taste. Now, I like McDonald's, so I do not have a fine palate that is hard to satisfy. I'm a bin. I eat everything. I wish I didn't, but I eat anything that you would put in front of me. So I have no flavourless. But this time, and I kept telling my aunt that this was the first, let's say, religious ceremony that I've been to where the food was great. It was amazing. We had, this is obviously Italian style, so I don't even remember how many dishes we had. We had some polenta with ragu, which is meat sauce on top as a starter. There was something else as well with ricotta. Then we had one more thing as a start. Yes, there were like dumplings, which is not Italian, but like fried dumplings with ham, tomato sauce and mozzarella, and I think they're called panzerotti. So they look like dumplings, but I mean, dumplings are not Italian, but this kind is Italian. It's almost like a tiny little pizza in a small shape of a dumpling. And then we had lasagna, and we had these amazing tortellini, which, so tortellini is small. It's filled, it's stuffed pasta in the shape of like that. Maybe I will show you a picture, which I can make from scratch actually, but I never do because I don't like cooking. But when I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, we used to make it together. So tortellini is small because ini in Italian makes a noun small. Tortelloni means big, so it was something like that. There was some strange sauce on the outside. I think it had bacon and either mushrooms or aubergines or something like that, and it was filled with ricotta. Now, tortelloni with ricotta and sage is a very, very typical staple dish, which I would never, however, order in a restaurant because the flavour is not very strong because it's just ricotta and sage. I love sage, but it is what it is. This one had ricotta, which was very flavoursome, I have to say, and also the outer sauce was brilliant, amazing. And then we had, oh gosh, this video is turning into a cookery class. Christening. I'll probably post the picture somewhere here. It does not exist anywhere else in the world. It's very typically Italian, and also it's very typical to my town, to my city, to my region, maybe. And it's a fried bitter, almost, yeah, a fried bitter that you then stuff with usually cured meat, ham and mortadella, or the cured meats that we have in Italy, or another kind of very soft cheese that doesn't exist here in England. I mean, you can put whatever you want, and then it usually, well, it comes in the shape of a square or a circle, small or big. These were fairly small, and they were like small squares, and you can this meat. They were all little like circles like that. It was incredible. So because I'd seen that people were getting all this stuff to take home, I asked the waitress if I could take that full plate of meat home, and she said yes. And because I worked out and I tried to eat a certain amount of protein and all of that, all I could see was good protein that I could use for the rest of my stay at home. Then this container, this dog bag, never came. But then at one point, I asked my aunt, who randomly just happened to be walking past, if she'd seen it anywhere, and then she said that the waitress had taken it to her side of the table on the other side from where I was, and people had started sharing it out so they could take it home. So out of this whole plate of meat, I ended up going home with 3 little pieces. I was furious, and I love eating. That's the only vice that I have. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't bite my nails anymore, I don't do anything. And I used to have the vice of eating because now I try to be good as well. So that was going to be my one and only treat, and it was taken away from me. I was furious. But hey, well, I've survived. Then we had our food and we went outside because there was an outside area which we were originally supposed to eat in, but because the weather was not the best, so in where I'm from, it's excruciatingly hot. It's extremely uncomfortable in the summer, and I don't like it, but because of climate change, I suppose, it is summery enough, but it's nowhere near as hot as I remember it to be, which is great. So I actually enjoyed the heat for the first time in my life, I think. And because the weather was very changeable, we didn't want to risk it, and we were all glad that we ate indoors because it was quite hot and it would have been fairly uncomfortable to eat outside. But then after the food, we went outside to eat the cake and to exchange to give presents to my aunt and uncle. And I will show you what we gave her as a family. It was a selection of milk that the baby drinks, and nappies, all shaped into a cake, which apparently is a fairly common thing to do now, but because I'd never been to a christening where I was part of the ceremony, well, I'd never seen that before, also because I don't particularly care about children. It's not something that was ever on my radar, but it was really, really nice, very creative, and again, since I'd never seen that before, I thought it was very original, but it turns out it's old news now. And the cake was really good. I am very weird with cakes, but it was really good, and the atmosphere was generally very nice. We also, because I hadn't seen my family since December, I had seen my mum because we went to Malta in April. I have a video which I will probably link here about our disastrous experience there, logistically, not between us two. So I'd seen her, but I hadn't seen anyone else, so it was a good chance for me to catch up with everyone. And this was the first time that I'd been with my family as a fully out from being more or less the same age as you. She's only 1 year younger than me, and also for being in the same dance group. And when she stopped dancing a few years before I did, before I moved here, and I completely lost her. I mean, she completely disappeared, and I'd never seen her since. And I mean, he had told me about her, and I was gobsmacked that of all the girls in the world, she was the one that he'd picked. So I saw her again, which was very strange, but in a good way. I mean, who would have thought, and what are the chances? So that was nice. Yeah, it was a very good afternoon and evening as well. And then on Monday, my mum went to work, and I made the video that came out a while ago of me being back home, and then I did a few things around the house. I fixed a few things, and I did a bit of cleaning, and then me and my mum went to buy her a new phone. My mum is very prehistoric when it comes to technology, and she hates phones, smartphones and laptops. But we gave her one as a Christmas present almost 10 years ago, knowing fully well that she would be extremely upset, not just unimpressed, but actively angry. And boy, we were right. But we didn't care, because I live here, so she needs WhatsApp, she needs ways to contact me on the line. And then she had to change that phone, and she had that, well, she still has it now. She's had it for 7 years, and it's such an old phone that doesn't really work. It just doesn't function properly anymore. And after years of battling and fighting, she's finally caved and decided to get a new phone. So we went, because she doesn't understand anything about technology, so I had to go with her, and we bought this amazing new phone. Her new phone is even better than mine. I'm so envious. But she's not using it right now because she doesn't know how to operate it, and she needs someone to teach her. So I'm going back home on the 7th of July, and I think this video is going to, let me just check when this, actually yes, this video is coming out today for you, so on the 7th of July, and I'll be back home as we speak. So I'll spend a week at the seaside with my mum, and I'll tell you all about that when I'm back. And I will teach her how to use it, so I will transfer all the data from her old phone to the new one. And oh my god, I am so furiously envious. Bye. And then we went to an Asian restaurant to have an all-you-can-eat buffet. And then on Tuesday, I came back here to London, and I haven't stopped working since. It's only Wednesday, but last night I was planning to have a relaxing evening, but I ended up working until midnight. But again, first world problems. Okay, I think that's enough for another one of my story times, and I can hear some kind of noise in the background, so it's time for me to go. I hope you found this relaxing, and if also funny a little bit. Let me know how big your families are, and if you have any newborns already or on the horizon. And I will see you soon.